Hello and welcome to the Money Compass.
In each episode, we will be preparing you for your journey through the world of finance and helping you tick off the destinations on your financial itinerary.
Pack your bags and prepare for takeoff as you navigate your way to financial success.
Morning everybody, today I'm joined by the lovely Nicola Rowley from NJR PR. She's going to be talking to us all today about PR and everything to do with it. So hopefully you're going to learn lots from this as well as I am too. So lovely to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
You're most welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit to start with about who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, of course. So I run NJR PR, as you rightly say. And basically, it's a communications agency that specializes in strategic storytelling to enable people to harness the power of PR, to be able to strategically tell their stories and get that out into the media so that then they can reach more of their ideal clients and go on and impact others, however, through whatever gifts that they have. I actually didn't start off in PR though. I started off as a journalist. So I was a journalist for about 13 years, working nationally and internationally. And I reached the point where I was the entertainment reporter at BBC Three, but I just couldn't see me standing on a red carpet, sticking a microphone under Simon Cowell's nose when I was 50. I was just like, I just can't see it happening. So I was like thinking, well, you know, if we ever wanted to move out of London, because at the time the media is very like London centric. Mm-hmm. So if we ever wanted to do that, I needed to think a bit more further down the line. So I had a look around and had always quite fancied PR because it felt like it was a natural progression to what it was that I was doing anyway. And quite often journalists say, oh, you know, it's like the dark side, you've crossed to the dark side. And I was just like, well, actually, it gives you an opportunity to be more creative, but there's still an element of storytelling in there because you're just working, instead of telling other people's stories, what you're doing is you're just telling brand stories and personal stories, depending on who you're working with. So I moved across and started doing some incredible things. So I was working with like big brands like Channel 4 and Honda and like Panasonic and all of these kind of things. But my biggest client was UK TV, and they had a suite at the time of, I think it was about 11 different TV channels, and they were my biggest client. I ended up going on and working for them, and then I went back to the BBC. So I worked for BBC Worldwide and worked internationally. And then I went across to Thorpe Park and was the head of PR at Thorpe Park. I did an awful lot of traveling around the world, taking celebrities on kind of, you know, press trips while they were doing filming for food shows and goodness knows what else I was doing. And it was just an incredible journey. But when my son came along, everything changed. He like literally changed for me. So this was 2014. And I spent that first kind of 9 months of when I was on maternity leave going, you know, obviously I'll be back. And everything changed because when he arrived, we didn't have the easiest of starts. Within 48 hours, he was up in intensive care and he was hooked up on every monitor and everything else because his blood sugar levels dropped dangerously low. And it was quite traumatic. And as a result, separation anxiety set in for me. And I never really dealt with the fact that had happened, and it had been quite a traumatic start anyway. And so when it came to returning to work, I was just like, I'm going to really struggle with this. And so I managed to somehow extend my maternity leave to be the full year. But even when I returned to work, I was finding that I was commuting for like an hour and a half each way every day. I was only getting to see him for 30 minutes a day, Monday to Friday. And that wasn't why I'd become a mum. And I'm the sort of person that literally throws themselves into any situation like wholeheartedly. And so that's what I'd done as a mum. I literally, like I was his mum. And even the health visitor had to say to me, can we just remember that you are also Nicola as well? Because she could see what was happening. I was just like, I was all about James, and it was all like, you know, it was lovely. But afterwards, I struggled when I went back to work, and I think the commute was just breaking me. I think not being able to see him, feeling like someone else was bringing him up during the day, it didn't sit right with me. So when I was at Thorpe Park, I kind of like strategically started working towards, right, okay, so if I can work 4 days a week and half an hour journey from home, that's a better way to do it. I was doing it in stages to make it easier for me to step away altogether. And in 2018, I quit my job. I, at the time, was running a photography business, and I literally booked in 25 weddings. And I was just like, right, I'm going to do all these weddings, and that's going to be brilliant because then I could be there for him. And then I immediately realized, as I was doing all of these weddings, I was stepping out every single weekend. And I was like, okay, so I do the drop-offs and the pickups during the week. That's brilliant. I get him ready for school. I pick him up. I'm with him all the time. Great. But then I disappear at weekends. I don't
losing
like
that quality time.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't like this. This isn't going to work. So I had to think again. And actually, I was also doing bits and pieces of PR at the same time. And then my business coach at the time just said to me, Nicola, why are you not just running your own business doing PR? Because it's clearly what you're really great at. And I know that you've tried to make the photography side of things work, but it feels to me like you're not happy. And I was like, I'm really not happy. Like, I feel like it's really hard work being a wedding photographer. I think it's a really, really tough business to be in. There is so much competition. You know, everyone is kind of competing on price. And I was attracting, I think, some of the wrong clients. Don't get me wrong, some of them were the most amazing people ever, but I was finding that the ones that I had attracted, I was just like, this is not great when I'm at 10 o'clock at night and you're on the phone to me telling me that I need to reconfigure your album. It's like it's 10 p.m. at night and I'm fitting around your schedule, not mine. So I stepped away from the photography altogether. I did odd bits and pieces. And I think that the pandemic, I think that really helped in terms of that, because of course the wedding industry, literally, it kind of imploded overnight. So I was able to park what weddings I did have and then concentrate more on the PR side of things. And then I just built it up from there. And it's gone on to become hugely successful. And it just means that I'm there much more for my little boy, which is what I always wanted in the first place.
And it was just finding that balance and the right tipping point of being there and still being Nicola and still doing what you love.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think for me, it's always been about, with PR, I think sometimes people think that PR is, look at me and jazz hands and isn't this wonderful? And it's all about an ego thing. But actually, for me, PR is on a much deeper level. It is actually about other people and the people that you can impact through what it is that you do and the gifts that you naturally have. So with Julie, she's obviously like, she understands finance in and out. And so for her, going out there and telling parts of her story, that enables people to understand how she can help them. So maybe they've got an issue with their pension. Maybe they've got an issue with, I don't know, like life insurance or whatever else it is, but Julie can point them in the right direction and then be able to help them. And I think it's that people don't realize. It's the impact that you can actually have, not only on one or two people, but the more reach that you're able to get, along with the credibility that you get when you're featured in the media, the more reach that you get, the more people you can impact. And that is everything for me, because I just think I operate very much from the space of being a heart-led entrepreneur. I'm very much about, how can I help others? How can I make that better for someone else? And it's actually just enabling other people to spread the word about what it is that they do so that they can go on and solve other people's problems.
Very good. So When it came to your own business, obviously you had the PR side of it sorted quite easily, but how did you find setting up your own business initially?
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing overnight, because although I'd run the photography business, it was very much the way that I'd run it alongside a side hustle for a long time. So that run as a side hustle. If I got money, originally I set up the photography business as a kind of like, that will pay for holidays type fun.
Like a paid hobby sort of thing.
Yeah, it was a paid hobby. And so then when I decided, right, I have to do this. If I'm going to be there for him, I have to do this. And so when I did the PR side of things, I had to really sit down and think, do I have everything in place that I need to? Do I have an accountant that I trust and I like, that is going to be able to get everything sorted for me when I need to get it sorted? Are all the legals in place? So in terms of the trademarks and anything that I'm bringing out, and do I have an audience that I can start talking to and build up from there? So what I found is that quite quickly I got people coming to me and wanting to do what I call PR strategy sessions. So they're sitting down with someone and finding out what their story is. So I was doing a lot of those, and I really, really love doing those. They're like one of my favorite things to do in my business, because it's where I then go away and then I write up someone's story. And it's every single story is so different and so unique. And actually, our stories are our superpower. So we have to remember that. But I needed to make sure that the money that was coming in was also, I was thinking about profit and loss. What was I paying out? Was I signing up for things that I was using all of the time? Because
those awful subscriptions that we all sign up for and then realize, actually, I don't think I really take advantage of that. But
yeah, and doing that and having a review every few months. Am I using that? And if I'm not using that, I need to step away from it. Am I making the most of this? No, I'm not. So therefore, I need to reconfigure that and change what it is that I'm doing. So had to really start thinking more like a business owner, because obviously I'd been running everything just okay, I've got clients, that's great, and I've got loads of people coming to me. But I think that everything changed for me in September 2020. So I'd launched the business in March 2019, put together the website. The website all looked great, had loads of lovely testimonials, lots of clients coming to me one-to-one. It was great, but there were only so many hours in the day. And I found that I was like really, really stretched. And then come September 2020, I launched my membership, the PR Mastery membership. And by doing that, I realized that I was able to impact more people at the same time, to be able to help them to be able to get their own PR and to teach them how to do it in a really safe way and how to work with journalists that could be trusted. And as a result, it meant that, people started getting like amazing coverage in magazines. And I know that Julie's definitely had quite a lot of coverage through being in the membership as well. And it was just like being able to help them in that way and guide them, and have journalists coming in from national publications like to talk about what they're after and what they're looking for. But because they've given up their time to come into the membership, they're much more likely to be open to approaches from people in the membership going forward. So like this month, for instance, we've got the content managing director for Hello Online coming in, and we've also got one of the feature writers from The Sun coming in as well. And a couple of months ago, we had the editorial director for Stylist magazine. So it gives you an idea of the kind of caliber of people that are coming in and talking to the people that are in the membership, because it means that everyone's kind of like, oh my gosh, we're going to get to see this person, or we're going to get to speak to this person. But yeah, a lot of it has been a very steep learning curve in terms of being a business owner and understanding the fundamentals of what needed to be in place. mean, thankfully, by the time that I did everything, I'd done all the courses so that I knew what I needed to do, what I needed to have in place to make sure that I could run it as efficiently as possible.
So I suppose you work with probably quite a lot of people that have been in your position of having started a new business, and they might have other parts of the business covered that you, when you started out, didn't know quite as much. But obviously, you know the PR side, which can help them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's very easy to kind of think right in the very beginning, right, I'm going to do everything myself. I'm going to, I'm going to do the finances, and I'm going to put myself out there in terms of PR, and I'm going to do all the marketing, and I'm going to do all the content on social media, and I'm going to make sure that I'm reaching all the right people all of the time. And then it suddenly dawns on you. I mean, it dawned on me very, very quickly. I don't have a clue what I'm doing with tech. Actually, financially, I was lucky in a way. I found an accountant. I was with an accountant anyway for the photography business, because I obviously had to be sending in my tax returns and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I changed my accountant. So I've got an amazing accountant who now works with me on this business. She's helped me go from being a sole trader to now a limited company, paying VAT. That whole journey, she has kind of taken care of me, just kind of like held me by the hand through it. But it's understanding to play to your strengths. So I made sure that I got a tech VA on board, and I had her, like, if I need anything for any launches, she's there. If I need things uploaded into the membership, she's there. I've now got a community manager who helps me manage the membership in terms of posting all of the media requests that come in, so that that side of things is also taken care of, so that, and then I can help with the one-on-one clients alongside a team of freelancers who are also working with me to pitch the clients out. So it's become a much bigger kind of operation. I'd say that's probably happened since the start of this year.
Incredible. I think it's something that we always say to our clients, that you need to do what you're good at. So you enjoy the one-to-one part and the writing the stories, and that's what you're good at. So specialize in that area. I say to clients, I know nothing about cars. I couldn't fix a car, so I'm not going to try and do that myself. I would take it to a mechanic and get them to do it for me. I know finances, and that's what I do. So it's the same as yourself with anybody setting up a new business, to use the right people. Yes, you've got to obviously be making the money to be able to afford to spend the money, but it's kind of a speculate to accumulate kind of thing, to make sure that you've got the right people doing the right jobs in your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's all very well feeling like you have to be a jack of all trades and do everything in the beginning. And I get that, especially when you don't have much money coming in. However, I think it's actually a false economy to not get a few people on board to support you. And even before you think you need them on board as well. I couldn't operate without my tech VA. Like, there is no way. And I've got another couple of VAs that also jump in when I need them. Like, I've got a graphic designer who is incredible. And when I need her to design something for me, she's just like, right, done. It's all sorted, because she understands the business. She understands what I'm doing and how it all fits together and works. And it's so important to have a range of people that you can call on to be able to do it. And at some point, I'm sure I will go down the road of employees and having people that are really invested in the company, so that you can take your vision forward of where you want to go. But I think for me, everything has changed since the start of this year, because I wrote my book, The Power of PR. And in writing that book and taking people on that journey to explain how they can harness the power of PR to grow and scale their own businesses, I think there have been a lot of light bulb moments for a lot of people, that they now, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, this is how PR can help me help other people, not just be all about me, because it never is just about us.
So your book, what sort of things does it talk about in there? Is it about storytelling? Because I know that's a big thing. Obviously, you've mentioned it, and you are definitely a very good storyteller yourself from everything you've said so far. So tell us a little bit more about what that book is.
So The Power of PR is it's a step-by-step stage to take you through all of the processes that you would need to get in place for when it comes to PR. So if you're thinking about doing PR for yourself, you're not quite sure whether or not you want to get an agency on board, or perhaps you do, but you want to understand a little bit more about how it can help your business. It will talk to you about the importance of your eyes in place. It will talk to you about the reasons why you need to understand where they hang out. So what media do they read? Is that magazines? Is it newspapers? Are they listening to podcasts or the radio, or are they watching TV? And then once you work that out, then you can start looking at those places and those media titles where you too can also be featured, so that you're getting in front of those ideal clients and then telling parts of your story, or giving expert commentary, or just being more visible in front of them, so that then they know that you're the expert in your field. And therefore, if they have an issue or a problem and they need solving, you're the person that comes to mind. I always think of PR like a trail of breadcrumbs. It will take you to the point where you want them to get. And sometimes people say, well, so with PR, what do we do once we've been featured? And I cover that off in the book as well, because it's really important that you talk about the fact that you've been featured. Some people get featured and they go, great, I've been featured. And then there's like this silence and nothing else happens. And it's like, well, so how are people meant to know that you've been featured if you don't tell them? And it's not a case of just doing it once and then going, right, that's that. And you might think, okay, so I've done a social media post. I did a post on Instagram. I did a post on Facebook. That's it. Everyone knows now. No, they don't. I think there's a figure that says you have to be seen now 27 times by one person just for them to actually register who you are and what it is that you do. So it's becoming much more.
It can't just be one Facebook post.
No, definitely not. You need to be emailing your list and telling them that this is happening. You need to be talking about this all the time. You need to be doing lives in other people's groups and saying, I'm just on this amazing journey right now. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And this is like incredible. And take people on the journey with you. So these are all of the things that are covered in the book, as well as what happens if something potentially reputationally damaging happens to you. So a crisis communications, kind of like just an overview, nothing to scare you, but an overview so that you don't make any massive blunders along the way, because it's very difficult to recover from that. And as part of the book as well, you also hear from journalists in terms of what they want and what they don't want as well. So I think it's like it's like your PR journey all wrapped up in one. And I have a course called PR Mastery, the course. And in effect, the book is the course. It's got all of the different modules that are covered in PR Mastery, the course, but the book takes you through it all. Because I think once you understand the fundamentals, you will be much more successful in terms of harnessing that power of PR to get yourself more visible and out there.
Wow. So it's kind of the perfect tool for anybody that wants to kind of do more PR for their business, to kind of get them started. If they're not quite ready to pass it over to someone else, they want to have a look at things themselves more first. So you've talked about obviously what success can be brought to your business basically by using really powerful PR. Are there some things that you see that are commonly done by businesses that you don't really feel adds like any value to themselves through PR, or are there any kind of common blunders or anything?
I mean, we've seen all of the classic cases, and I quote one of these in the book as well. It's like the Gerald Ratner moment where he turned around and said that his products were really rubbish and no one should buy them. I mean, own goal right there. So it's things like that, not coming up and saying that your things are rubbish. That is an obvious one. You would think that business owners would avoid. The other thing that you need to avoid is not saying anything negative about anyone, really, because those are the things that the media will pick up on. So don't turn around and say, oh, well, that was a really rubbish exhibition that we just had just there. I had a client once who she did an interview for a TV station, and she came away. She said, Nick, I did this interview for the TV station. I was like, that's brilliant. Well done. What part did they use? Did you manage to get your key messages in there? You knew what you wanted to get from it beforehand. And I hasten to add, this was before she started working with me and came into the membership. She was just like, they used the negative thing I said. And I was like, what negative thing you said? So avoid negativity, because if it makes a good soundbite, or it, like, it's going to make quite a pithy quote, of course they're going to use it, and it doesn't necessarily paint your business in the best light. So think about things like that. Think about how hard you have actually worked to get yourself to where you are. You do not want to damage that in any shape or form. It's why I always say to people, know exactly what you want to get out of any interview before you even give that interview. Have like 3 top key messages that you want to say, so you've managed to weave those in as you're talking. And really great journalists will be able to get things out of you that you otherwise thought you weren't going to share. So if you are an oversharer, write down on a big piece of paper so it's in front of you, do not talk about whatever it is, X, Y, Z, because otherwise you could be talking about something. It could involve someone else and you haven't got their permission to share it. It could be something that not really that great for your business. Is it worth it? You've worked so hard to get everything in place. What a lot of people fail to think about when it comes to PR. PR is not about media relations and securing lots and lots of coverage. A lot of PR is about positioning. It's about positioning you in the marketplace so that people think of you in the right way. And the value from PR comes from the fact that it's a third-party endorsement of what you do via a journalist or an editor. But if you say something or it's misconstrued in a certain way, it's all about damage limitation. It really is. So there's a big part of PR where, it's making sure that you protect that reputation. And there are whole massive businesses where there are departments of people that actually do this. And you have to understand the importance of sometimes keeping yourself out of the media as opposed to just putting yourself in. So it's not just a case of everyone goes, oh yes, it's all about getting coverage. It's not. It's a much bigger thing. It's about boosting your search engine optimization, or SEO. It's about being discovered by more of the people that you want to discover you. So think about the targets that you want to be featured in, and you are being featured in. Will they provide you a backlink? That will help direct people to your website, what you put on your website, your current offers, and all of the things that you want to talk about the most.
I suppose as well is the consistency of making sure it's the right target audience that you're aiming at all the way through. Because if you've targeted one type of person from the PR that you've done, and then you lead them to your website, which then gives a different message, you need that consistency all the way through to make sure that you're always bringing your ideal client through, basically.
Yeah, definitely. You absolutely do. And I think knowing what that messaging is, that's absolutely key from the beginning, so you can take people through. And the more that you say it, and you might feel, oh my gosh, I'm repeating the same messages over and over again, but actually people need to hear that until it really sinks in. And I think as well, when it comes down to kind of, that real moment where the media also understand what it is that you do, that they start coming to you for comment about things, that is like gold dust as well, because then you're much more likely to be asked to go on to the bigger programs and the more high profile places as well.
Fabulous. So do you have any top tips for anybody that's trying to improve the PR within their own business? Obviously, read your book is going to be one of them, but anything specific that you would kind of suggest to people? I
would suggest just get a bit of a handle on how your social footprint actually comes across. So have a look. Google your own name. So Google your name, Google the business name. That is what a journalist will do after you've approached them. They will want to see that you are that credible expert in your field. That is why I think even if you've got a one-page website, you have a website. So you've got somewhere that they can go. I always think that it's really important to have professionally taken images on that website. It's no good just trying to do it with a mobile phone and hoping for the best. You can't do it. You need to invest in professional pictures. And then get really clear on your story. I mean, that is absolute PR fundamental. If you want to really harness the power of PR and be able to get that visibility, reach, and credibility all at the same time, you have to understand what your story is. And then once you've got all of those in place, you're pretty good to go. As long as you know who your ideal client is, where you want to be featured, i.e. the media that they watch, listen to, read, etc., then yeah, you're good to go to get started. And I think that just having that knowledge is absolutely golden, to be able to have your story already written so you know it. You've got some key messages, so you know what you're going to get out of any interview. You've got a website and you've got professional images. That's it. You're all good to go.
Fabulous. So if anyone listening today would like to get in touch with you to find out more about how you might be able to help them personally or your course or anything, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I'm over on Instagram at Nicola J. Rowley PR, and I have a free Facebook group called the Communications Community. So come on over and say hello. And if you're thinking about PR and you're trying to work out whether you are ready for PR, you're not sure, I have a free quiz as well, which is pr-quiz.com. So it's pr-quiz.com. And once you complete the quiz, you will receive a PDF downloadable report that will tell you all of the things that you need for PR, plus where you rank on those. Like, what are the things that could really help you right now on your own journey? So it's a really clever tool to be able to assess exactly where you are right now. And of course, there's the book, The Power of PR.
Fantastic. So I'm hoping lots of people will be in touch. I've definitely learned a lot today about PR and storytelling. And I've always thought storytelling was an incredible thing, but I didn't realize how closely it linked to PR. And even working with clients in finance, telling them stories about how things work is so powerful. So I understand completely where you're coming from and why it works, and the power of it. So the last thing I'm going to ask you today, which is something we like to ask everybody that joins us on the podcast, being the Money Compass, we like holidays. So my question for you is, what is your favorite holiday destination?
My favorite holiday destination, I know where I'd like to go next. So I'd love to go to the Maldives next, but my favorite holiday destination, I think it has to be Australia. So, and in particular, Sydney. I'm a real city girl, and I wanted to go since I was 10, and I went in 2008, and it was like a dream come true. It's such a beautiful part of the world. There's so many different destinations that I love, but yeah, I'm going to go with Australia.
Fabulous. I take it you've been to many places then, if your career has taken you all around the world.
Yeah, I have. I've been really lucky. I did a food show and we actually filmed out in Malaysia, and we went to New York. I was with James Martin in New York, and we were doing a program about cakes. And yeah, I was with Atul Kutcher in Malaysia, and I was traveling around all over the place. I was with Kelly Rowland in Miami, and you know, things like that, experiences like that are just incredible. I have to say, I do love Southeast Asia as well, with Laos, Cambodia, like all of those, Vietnam, just beautiful, beautiful countries.
Wow. Definitely got some more places to tick off the list though.
Yeah, definitely. Always so many places to tick off.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Nicola. It's been lovely to have you here, and for talking all about PR today.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, we've completed today's episode. We hope you have enjoyed following along with us today and taking another step closer to a financially secure future.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast, you can head over to themoneycompass.co.uk where you can find out more information, hints and tips from today's episode.
If you'd like to get more involved, share your own experiences and learn from a friendly community on a similar journey to you, why not join us in our Facebook group, The Money Compass, where we will support you in navigating your way to financial success.
Thank you for listening and see you next time.